Welcome back, everybody. One of the best football analysts is here to talk about the NFL offseason. And that man is Barry Bad News Barnes. Good to see you, man.
No, man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot. I wish I had your assignment.
Oh, the cheerleader thing.
Oh, man, that's the one combine I wish I was there.
Hey, you didn't get that message, huh?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Good to see you, man. And it's like winter and spring madness right now when it comes to NFL, right?
Right. This, as far as for the NFL, it never ends. It's a continuous process. And when you look at your calendar, 12-month calendar, the first thing you want to say to yourself when they're going to have a break. There's no break in the NFL. When teams are trying to build for a championship, there's never a break. So there's always going to be a continuous process, and that's the part that I love about the league. All
right, and let's talk a little bit about the Washington football team. They have had an interesting offseason. Right. They haven't made any crazy signings like they used to do. And it seems like with the new general manager, Scott McLuhan, he's doing a pretty good job, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you have someone with over 20 years of experience, every team he's been a part of went to the Super Bowl. You know, when you go back with the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers a couple years ago with the Ravens and Seattle Seahawks. When you have a track record like McLaurin here with the Redskins, it gives hope to the fan base, letting them know that, hey, if this guy went to the Super Bowl all for the last three franchises he was with, it's a good chance that we can go. But the question is for the Redskins that I have, who are they? You know, will the Redskins be a pass-happy team? Will this team be more of a balanced team? Will they be more of a running team that rely on the defense? First, the Redskins have to find out what kind of identity they want to have first. Then they will know what type of players to bring in to help. Not so much, I would say, try to build everything at one time, at one piece. It'll be more of a steady process. But if they have a role or a blueprint that they would stick with, this team will actually be a lot better, a lot sooner than what other people may think.
So how do they establish that? Is that the head coach, Gruden, along with McLuhan, or is it McLuhan that establishes that identity?
Well, with McLuhan, with his track record, he has to be the one that would establish it or be the final person to give the approval of what they want to do. First, he and Jay will have to really get together, those two alone, figure out what Jay wants, pick Jay's mind. What type of offense or what type of team you think that would be successful for this division. Because you have to build your roster and your team according to the way how your division is first. You win your division, you get to the playoffs. When those two minds come together, then that's when McLaurin would know what's the right process to go. And so far with this offseason, like you said, no big splashing names. They starting to find pieces here with the defense and with the secondary. And from what I've seen with the Redskins this year for the NFL Regional Combine, they were more active this year with the Regional Combine than they were the last couple of years. And that was due to a lot of changes that all 32 teams presented to NFL operations, what they wanted to do and what type of players they wanted to come to the Combine. And the Redskins, I just let all the fans know, they were really into this process this year.
All right, and some of the signees, the new people, you're saying they're mostly defensive players.
Right.
And that's where the big need was. Of course, a lot of people are saying, what are they going to do with the quarterback situation?
Well, with the quarterback situation, first of all, I think what they did with the quarterbacks last year, they did a horrible job with that.
Okay.
I really believe they set RG3 up for failure last year. And also with Cousins, they set them up for failure last year because when you have a running back coming into last season, the last 2 years prior, he had the highest rushing totals, number 2, right behind Adrian Peterson, and they probably forgot, oh, it's Alfred Morris. When you have how
do you forget that?
Yeah, really. I mean, but when you have young quarterbacks, they're still trying to find their way. And Robert, with his injury, he's still trying to find his way. Cousins, the same thing. You want to have that balance of knowing that you have that backfield set that's going to help take some pressure off their quarterback. And last year, a lot of the games they were in, they were never out. All they had to do was just be balanced and just take their time and use their best weapon on the offense side of the ball.
With the running game,
they would have been fine. And took what the defense gave them down the field instead of trying to force things. The Redskins is not the type of offense that can go out and force their hand and force their will in the passing game. So they have to really be balanced in what they want to do. And I think that coming into this year, looking at the signings they have, I really believe they said, okay, we're going to play defense. Let our defense set us up what we're going to do offensively, and hopefully they can find some support there with the running game and help Morris help carry that load, so that RG3 or Cousins or whoever may be back in the backfield, they can be in a situation where they can be helped instead of making them help everyone else.
So if at the 5th pick and Mariota is around, do they go after him?
No. I don't think you jump ship on Robert just yet, and Cousins, because instead of changing what you have and starting everything over, you pretty much know what you have in Robert. You pretty much know what you have in Cousins. So instead of
develop those guys.
Right. So and even more so, instead of developing them, develop the talent around that best suit their abilities. You know, with Robert, he play action. He do have a strong arm, but with a play action quarterback who's going to be pretty much susceptible to being hit, you want to rely on the passing game. When you have a Kirk
go
Cousins,
back to the read option also?
Yeah, you have to, because that's his strong suit. Yeah. Only thing is, you have to make sure you have smart offensive linemen that will know Robert and pick up on certain things that he's going to do. Where he's going to roll out at. Understand the type of defense you're going to, that you're going up against. If this one end is slower than the other, if this linebacker can't get to the outside quicker, you have to study defenses so that you get an idea of where Robert may run to, and then you have to have receivers that's going to come back to the ball instead of just going out deep and not turning back around. Right. Everyone has to be on the same page, and they have to get those type of players that help support Robert or Cousins.
Yeah. Now, what about Cousins? Cousins probably got to go a little different on the offensive scheme with Cousins, right? As opposed to
just a little bit, because with Cousins, he's shown that he can be a better passer. He can still
run a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But his strength right now, a little better than Robert, is reading defenses. One of the things, on the issues I have with Robert is that he don't throw the ball open to the play. He don't throw the players open. It's more if he see them open, he'll throw it to them. Cousins is going to, if he see that it's a 10-yard field or opening space there, he's going to throw the wide receivers to be open. Rob, that's one of the things you have to work on, and that's fine. That's something that if the Redskins recognize that, if they really want to harness that, they can just say to yourself, Robbie, this is what you have to do, but you want to get the right pieces of knowing that they're going to be on the same page, knowing that the ball's not going to come directly to them, but they know they have to have the speed and the know-how to get to that spot.
All right. Well, what types of players do you think they need in this draft? Or in free agency?
Well, everything is out in chalk as far as who the guys they should go for.
You saw some people, right? You went to the regional combines. I mean, I saw some people on the national list of who might be drafted. There's a guy, Lyndon Trail, who's out of Norfolk State. HBCU. They're saying that he might be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. That's a round that we could pick somebody like that. He's a big 6'7", 280-pound defensive end.
Right.
They say he's fast. I mean, the kid played receiver in high school.
Right.
And he's somebody that might be overlooked, but not really, because they're saying that somebody's going to pick him in the 3rd or 4th round. But that's a round we could pick somebody like that, right?
Right. I mean, when you look at building a franchise, like if you just go back to last year alone, 37% of the players that went to the Pro Bowl last year got drafted in the 3rd round or later, and 12% of those guys were undrafted.
Right. There you go.
So that's how you build your franchise. One of the things is, as far as with the regional combine players or anybody or any player that's come undrafted, you want to look for the players that's not going to get my starters hurt. You want to look for the player that's going to make our starters play a little better. And if they can stay healthy themselves, okay, you can make the practice squad.
So who are some of these guys that you came across down at the combines?
Well, one of the guys,
and there's people that we may not have heard about, right?
Oh, I'm quite for sure. Y'all never heard of these guys. I'm quite for sure. But when I look at the Redskins, I look at a team that want to be able to put pressure on quarterback. Obviously, that's something that this division actually lacks. They really don't have too much. But if you want to get to the point like a Seattle, pretty much the way how Scott had things set up in Seattle, how you had the hybrid defenses in San Francisco. If you look at a guy like Raycom Cox, who came from, Villanova, he was a linebacker at first, but they moved him to defensive end in the last year's Super Regional Combine because he was so athletic.
Okay.
This year, he bulked up. He's 6'6", about 245 pounds. He's a hybrid. If you look at a guy like Michael Reynolds from Kansas, he's another athlete, pure athlete, that can get out, cover space very well. So you look at those type of guys. I'm
looking at a safety up there, Trey Walker.
Trey Walker.
They really need some safeties.
Yeah, Trey Walker, he's from Florida. He's a real good safety.
No, it's Texas Southern.
No, but he's his home, but he's native in Florida.
Native in Florida.
And he had, most of these guys that you have come from the regional combine, they weren't necessarily overlooked. It was just the fact that there's grade level, that SAT scores had hindered them for signing a big deal. When you look at a guy like Travis Walker, who went to Youngstown State, who's a linebacker, could have went to Miami, but because of his scores, he had to go to Youngstown State. He's another linebacker, 6'4", that can really move, cover real space, and at the same time can catch. All the defensive players that I mentioned, they all have great hands. And one of the things the Redskins have to do is look for those turnovers. And Walker is one of those type, with Trey Walker, when you look at him, the way how he's able to survey the backfield, how he can play the safety, how he can be more of a hybrid, even playing a corner back position. He have an offensive background as well. So when you have guys there that can create turnovers, they're the type of guys the Redskins look at.
Real quick, our competition, the Eagles.
Right.
Chip Kelly.
Oh,
what did he do so far? In a few seconds, how do you rate what he did?
Chip was a monster. He was everywhere. He had his shorts and his khaki, his hat and everything. He took off his player personnel hat, took off his head coach hat, and he really became a scout. I really believe that the Eagles had talked to more players at the Super Regional Combine.
Do you think that because of his college background where he was doing recruiting, maybe he enjoys scouting?
Oh, yeah, he definitely was, because even when we was on the inside doing the 40, he was the first one in his fold-out chair on the end watching out. Then he would go outside, watch the individual drills. He was one of the main guys that was really in tune with what was going on in the Super Regional.
What about Dallas Cowboys and the Giants? Well, especially the Cowboys.
Right. All the teams was well represented, but the teams that stood out for me that were really into it, mainly because the GMs there. You had with John Dorsey with the Kansas City Chiefs, he was heavy into the process. Reggie McKinney with the GM for the Raiders, he was heavy into it. Rick Spielman for the Vikings, he was heavy into it. So you have a lot of those teams that's pretty much a step away from the contending to win their division. They were really into the process, and knowing that the Raiders are really represented with their GM. They're since early in the morning to late at night, even with the veteran combine, really into the process, trying to find their talent out there.
All right. Well, maybe I'm sure you got to meet a lot of those guys. They might have found some front office talent in you, right? You're going to be on one of those staffs this year, man.
No, they probably called me for some advice, but it's definitely some talent out there, even on the offense side of the ball. We didn't talk about that. There's, if you want to look for support, we don't know what Alfred Morris is going to come back, or not. When I think about, the running backs, Luke Lundy, from Iowa University. He's out of the state of Nebraska. He's the 22nd person in the state's high school history that had over 5,000 yards, scored 32 touchdowns in his senior year. Only problem is he's white. He's been looked over so much, but he's a talented guy that I think could work out for the Redskins. All right. Well, we are out of time. Can you believe it? It always happens, man. Always happens. But I'd like to thank you, my good friend, Bad News Barnes, with all that good news. Oh, yeah, I had a lot of good news. It was great, man. Thanks for having me on. All right. Well, thanks also to Stephanie and Jamila and the First Ladies of Football for inviting us to take a look at their tryouts. And remember to check out the tryout finals April 6th at the Fillmore in Silver Spring. You can get information on the Redskin Cheerleader website. I'm Marvin Jackson, and we will see you next time on the Sideline Report. So long, everybody. Thanks, buddy. Yeah,